What is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson, and welcome back to another episode of BrunDown. So, in today's episode, we're out here once again on the lovely Maliboom doing body work. I don't want to bore you guys with an entire day of fill work because pretty much that's what I'm on, but what I'm hoping to do is there's a dent over here. I can show you guys a bit on the stud puller, kind of how to go about doing that, because I think a lot of guys get it wrong when they get a stud puller. They want to put a stud right in the middle of the dent and pull it out, and that's not how you want to do it. So we can cover that today. We'll throw you on a time lapse and you guys can watch me sand till the cows come home, and that is going to be so interesting and so entertaining. You guys are excited, I know that. But what I'd really like to try to get to is we'll fast forward through all the filler stuff, and then I'd like to at least put the quarter panels in a high build primer today. So I'd like to show you guys how to mix that down, kind of how to apply it. I did the hood. We'll give you guys a look over here. So I did this hood in the high build, so it turned out pretty good. You can see kind of wiggles, there's some scratches and stuff, but the high build is supposed to fill those in so we can block this down, and we'll put paint on this. We do have some pinholes and things that we'll address before we do that, but we will get there. We are not quite that far yet with that, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you guys how to apply this and mix it, because painting is basically chemistry mixed with, I don't want to say art, because we're not really doing custom paint at this point. We're just putting primer on. It would be chemistry and gun control, really, and setting. So it's kind of like MIG welding. Like, once everything's kind of right, you do it and it's pretty easy. And then when stuff is way out, usually it's just like panic mode. You don't know what's going on, except the difference between MIG welding panic mode and paint panic mode is paint panic mode sucks, because if you've already put paint on stuff, depending on how it went down, you may have actually kind of ruined stuff, and then you got to wait for it to dry so you can sand it off. Or the paint itself is drying up as you are wasting time trying to figure out what's going on, and depending on your situation, that's never a good thing either. So let's get cracking. I'll put the tent up, or the easy up, I guess it's the tent. We'll scuff some of this stuff down, but before we get too crazy, I think what we'll do is we'll jump into pulling this dent out a little bit so we can put some filler over that while I sand my freaking face off. Let's get rolling. All right, let's tackle this booger really quick. So this is on a radius. If you've been watching this whole thing, remember I showed you guys when I stripped this down, it had a bunch of fill work on it, pretty much for that. And then there's a wiggle right here. But the difference between these, I know it's hard to see on camera. If I had like a straight edge, you could see it, but this is a pretty good ding. You could fill it. It'll be pretty thick. I'd say it'd be a little over like an 1/8 inch thick. As for this, is more like a wiggle. This is a little bit bigger than like a door ding. So I'm okay filling this because it's not going to take much, maybe one pull, and then we'll smooth it and it'll be good. As for this might take a couple passes, and it's just a little thicker than I'd like it to be, considering we can fix it pretty quick. There's also a spot up here that I just welded all these in, and they drilled holes and pushed it down. So we'll just fill this. And again, this actually is not as deep as this. So let me show you guys how to go about fixing this real quick if you have one of these bad boys. So Harbor Freight special. The pins though, here's the difference, is when you buy this, it actually comes with a slide hammer, which I don't have here, but I'll have to go get it. But it comes with pins, and the pins kind of suck. So if you buy one of these, you can go to your local store. These are from my auto collision repair shop where I buy my paint and whatnot. So these are a much better pin, and they actually stick. The ones with the Harbor Freight ones that they give you, when you weld them on, you go to pull it and the pin just breaks off. So these are a lot better, and then I find the smaller pins adhere a bit better. The big fat ones take more heat. You're gonna put more heat in the panel. Anyway, the panel's already screwed. Not that it's a big deal, because you're trying to fix it, because it is what it is. But you essentially use this to weld it to it. You pull the pin and it pulls the dent out, and then we'll still fill it, but we're gonna get it a heck of a lot closer. So let me grab the puller that I have, and then I'll get you a straight edge so you guys can see how deep it is now, and we'll whack it a few times and make it better, hopefully. Okay, so this is the puller, and I actually made this thing. You can see that I just welded vice grips to it. The one that they usually have has this little rolly deal, and you slide it on, you roll it back. When you pull it, it stays. Well, I stripped that thing out, so I just made this, and I use this for other things as well. So that's what we're going to use to pull on the studs. And then I brought a straight edge over so you guys can kind of see. So see the light below there? And I know some of you are like, oh, that's not terrible, who cares, just fill it, but I wanted to show you guys kind of how this thing works. So first thing we're going to do, got my clean strip wheel. We got to dig this out and get the paint out of there so we have something to weld to. So I'll clean around this real quick, and then I will show you how to kind of weld some studs on, and we'll pull it up, and then we can move on to sanding. Yay! Okay, so we stripped it down, cleaned it off. In person, it's probably hard to see on camera, but the shape of the dent kind of goes like that, right? Majority of guys want to put a stud right in the middle and pull it. That's the wrong way to do it, because all the edges are what's holding the shape down. So we need to put studs around the edge of this, pull that up, and that'll essentially pull the middle, and then we can pop that up, and we should get it pretty close. So let's load a stud, and then we'll weld it on. Okay, we got this dude plugged in. Essentially all you do is you just throw a stud down the tip like so, and then there is a button on here. You hit that. This thing's spring loaded, so you have to push it in. This is the ground, and then this is your power, positive, negative, and it essentially just grounds that stud out and leaves it stuck in there. So let me see if I can film this kind of one-handed and do it. Will kind of be tricky, but let's see. So I want to place the stud. This is kind of rough one-handed, but we'll place it, let's go there, and then you push it down until it's flush, and you hit the button. You let off, pull it out, bada boom, bada bing. So let me weld a few more on here, and then I'll let you know why we welded those, and then we'll pull on them and see how we go. All right, I got two, and these are on the outer. So I've got two on here, they're on the outer edge. So if we put our little contraption on here, like so, and then you slide it. You guys are probably gonna fall off the car. But clip it on. There you go. So we pulled it a little bit here, pulled it a little bit there, and then sometimes too, when you push this in, the metal has to go somewhere, so you'll have high spots, and you can pull on this and you can work it with your body hammer. But all in all, this thing doesn't really feel that bad. I think it's more pushed in. So we just did the outer edge here and here. We'll cut these off now, and then I'll put one probably toward the middle here and there, and we'll pull those, and we should be looking good. All right, we got a few pins on this. I had to change my goggles. I grabbed some goggles, and I'm like, oh, safety first. I put them on. Might as well pull my shirt over my head. I couldn't see anything. So I don't know if it's more efficient to have goggles you can't see out of, or none at all really at that point. Anyway, so essentially what you're doing too, I forgot to mention, is you want to work the damage backwards. So if the centermost point, like the furthest point of damage, is where the damage stopped, something was getting pushed against it. So you want to work the edges back to the center to pull it out, if that makes sense. So do it in reverse. It's like being a detective for damage. But anyway, so what I did is we did the outside edges first, kind of pulled those up a little bit and relieved it, and then pulled the two center ones. This again was a simple deal, but let me grind these down. I cut these off the cutoff wheel, and then we'll grind them down real quick. We'll throw the straight edge on it and see if we look any better than we did. We shaved the pins off. Here's our straight edge again, and so as you can see, we still got a little bit of light. Yeah, if I move it, that's probably the majority of it, but it's a lot closer. So we're within fill tolerance. Again, you could add more pins and kind of bump it out even more and get it pretty dang good, but I'm happy with how that is. And then I basically got to show you guys a little bit like on a small dent. But if it was a larger area, what you would do is you would start on the outside. Like if you had a softball sized dent, don't just go putting a pin right in the center of that and pulling it, because you're just going to get like a whoop-de-doo. It's just going to have like a nipple where you pulled it. So you need to start on the outer side of the damage. And then also too, rub your hand on it and feel that if it's pushed in, chances are the metal is going to kind of roll up like up and then in, because the metal gets displaced. So when you're working those pins and pulling it in, get your body hammer and tap down where it's high, and that'll relieve that, be able to pull it out, and the thing should go back to normal. It'll be a little potato chippy. The skin's not going to be perfectly flat because you're putting heat on it and expanding it and then yanking on it. So it's just meant to get you closer to the ballpark than it would be. So you don't have 27 inches of filler or 27-inch thick filler on the side of your car, kind of like I had when we started this project. So we'll slap some filler on this, slap it on the other side. Let me get to sanding. I'll throw you guys on a time lapse. Any tips or anything I come up with while we're running or something I need to show you guys, I'll share with you. If not, we're just going to run through it, slap filler back on, kind of do that procedure till hopefully we get to a point today where we can rock some high build. Then I'll be feeling really good about myself, because then this thing will start kind of looking like a car again. So here's where we are on this side. So all the dark spots are lows still. So you can see we've got some stuff to fill back in here and here. This actually is looking pretty decent. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then this guy's gonna need some here. Low spot. This whole section looks pretty good. And again, it wiggles a little bit. I'll have to put some here, but I don't care if it wiggles because it's race car, but I just don't want stuff like this is all. So we're trying to fill all these guys in, knock it down to where, you know, like it kind of looks like this area, and then we can high build the whole thing. So I'm hoping still to try to get that done. We'll see how we go. And then on this, maybe I can show you guys a little shaping technique on like the radius with a flat block, because I know a lot of people think you need a soft block, but this will all be done with a flat block. So kind of losing the body line, but it's looking pretty good for the most part. All right, we'll share this with you guys real quick. So I got 80 grit. I got some loaded on here. I should probably put a new piece on, but this is a hard block. You know, as you can see, it doesn't bend and flex. I mean, if you're Hulk, yeah, you can bend this thing around. I mean, it's not 100% rigid, but ultimately it kind of stays flat when you're using it. So on something round like this, a lot of people are going to use a soft block to try to go around the edge, but what I find is the flat block gives me a better result. And the way you do that is you roll around the radius like this. So you can see how it's cutting it, but then because it's flat, if there's any lumps from when you spread the filler or lumps on the body in general, it's going to knock those down because it's a flat block. And then you just roll around the radius like that. And then there's a body line here. So when you come off the edge, you want to keep it flat. You don't want to roll over that body line. You want to sand this separately. So when you come off this, you go off the body line like that. And then once this is all flat and everything looks good, if you want to get this portion, this is flat, so you keep your block flat. And then I would literally sand this like that. One last tip. You can see this is a little convex. Granted, this tip helps a bit more when there's a little more angle to it, but even in this scenario, this is good for it. To get this to line up and be convex, so you also use your flat block, because when you're touching here, you'll be touching here to keep it flat. And then I like to offset the paper a little bit, and it gives you a little flap. So when you come up on your ridge, this will roll up and it will follow it. And then especially when you get into something like this, you know, where it's a real stiff curve or a abrupt curve, you come down with your block, and then obviously I can't roll the block, right, because this is in the way, it won't allow me to. So I literally hold the block at the same shape and then go like that, come off the panel. So I'd sand it like this and then back, and so you're still working your angles. You got your little flap so it rolls on the radius, and because it's rigid and hard, that will keep this cut in line with what you got going here, because this is going to guide your block. When this edge is cutting, this edge is guiding like that, right? And then you're working your angle. That's how you keep things nice and tidy. So I hope some of those tips helped. I can't really do it one-handed and talk, but that is essentially how I get something like this shaped. So I'll just put you on a regular video real quick off to the side. I'll put my mask on, and then I'll kind of work this area so you can kind of see. And we'll go from there. So. So we kind of have a decent shape on that, so you can see, you know, it comes around, then we kind of have the point that kind of goes down. This is a little ugly. We got a piece of trim that cruises right here, so we may touch that up a little bit, but I'm not terribly worried about it. But this has some holes in its game, and then this is a little lumpy here. Not too bad. But all in all, I think it's starting to look pretty decent. I'll fill this stuff in, all little holes and stuff here, and then I'll knock the rest of this down. Yeah, that can go down. And I think that's it. I can actually fill this back in, and then it's looking okay. Hope you guys are having fun, because yeah, but at least it's kind of starting to look like a car again, a little bit. All right, well, it's a little while later. We got the cake batter on that side. And then I jumped on this side and I started hitting it with, you know, all the tools in my arsenal. And this is the thing with Bodywork, is it just takes time and a ton and a half of labor. So the dark spots are low still, so it's looking pretty good. You can see where it's still kind of low. Yeah, even this, I feel like it's low there. This is a little bit high, but it still needs to get filled in. And then it sinks in a little here, and then it's a little proud there. But all in all, it's kind of coming around. And it's one of those things, man. I mean, you just gotta put the work and the effort in. So, with that being said, it is like 2 o'clock, maybe 2:30. I'm getting wore out. I'm using my big boy tools. These are Hutchins, a DA, and a air file, and they're made of steel. These are industrial. These big dogs weigh a lot compared to this, but this guy just doesn't have the oomph this boy has. So thought I could make more headway, but all I'm doing is wearing myself out faster. And then I've been hand shaping this panel here, so we'll see. I'll get some water, take a break, maybe get on this a little bit more, maybe add some more cake batter, and this side will be looking decent, and then we'll get on the other side. But honestly, I don't think I'm gonna have the time to show you guys the high build today, and then I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. I think this is gonna be a light weekend as far as me getting time for my vehicle, so I'll bring you back. We'll do a bit more. I'm gonna take a break before I wear myself out, and then I end up just laying on the ground, either passed out or sleeping, or a mix of both. And then we'll bring you back, kind of show you up. We'll wrap it on where we kind of left off and how much further I think we really need to go before we can put paint on this thing. It is a while later. It's out here trying to get things done, but it is the weekend, and being in your driveway working on things, people want to stop by and chat, and who knows. So we basically are in the same spot. I did some fine tuning by hand. I got some hand work done on the edging and whatnot. Obviously these holes are ugly, but again, this is where the trim goes. And then we got the radius looking decent on that. Pinholes, things to fill. But we will get this thing licked sooner or later. So yeah, that is that. Not quite as far as I wanted to get today, but that's always the name of the game when you're working on these things. You never get as far as you think you can or could. I guess they call that biting off more than you can chew, and that is my MO, especially on these weekend builds, going gangbusters on these things. So with that being said, we're just gonna wrap this one here. I'm gonna sling a little bit more mud on this bad boy, and if I make more progress, I'll show you guys. But if not, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, go tell somebody. I'm out.